Hi, I'm Gina Tabrizi, licensed marriage and family therapist. On Ask Gina, you can look me up on Facebook and my social media where I have a lot of resources for you. Today I wanted to talk to you about the emotional freedom technique. I love the sound of that because anything that says freedom to me is for fun and for free. I'm there. So emotional freedom technique has been around for a couple of decades, and it was stumbled upon by a psychologist who was working with a particular woman who was experiencing a severe phobia and trauma to water. And he was really having difficulty, and in the process of working with her, one of those divine interventions, he had a moment of coming up with this idea of tapping on her body while she was experiencing the traumatic event and thinking about the water. She instantaneously felt some relief. So he studied it. He came up with all the methodologies behind it. It was very complicated in the beginning to know how to tap, when to tap, how long to tap. He had all these logarithms. So another psychologist came along and kind of perfected it by removing all of that difficult measurement of it and just allowed it to become the emotional freedom technique that it is today. It's called the tapping method, and you can look it up. It's all over the internet. The reason I'm sharing it with you is because it works. It's like this useful tool that anybody can do. You don't have to be sitting in a therapist's office, but I will tell you, as I show you today, there are times you may want a therapist present to do the work. But for what I'm going to show you, it's user-friendly, and I think it's really important. Tapping is a method that was created using the meridian points on the body, which are acupressure points and acupuncturists use to relieve stress in the body. What do you know? The meridian points are 8 to 9 points in your body that have areas where additional electrical impulses happen to pass through. And so when you tap on them, it sends a signal to the brain in the amygdala, which is your fight, flight, or freeze, or your trauma response. It's kind of that thing that happened in the caveman days when you saw a tiger in your body. You either froze or you ran or you got a sword and you fought the tiger. That same response is very active in us as socialized people in this time. We now react to things that don't need to be fight, flight, or freeze. If you found out during this pandemic that we happen to be in at the moment, if you found out you've lost your job and you're having constant anxiety, you've activated your amygdala. If your spouse just left you, if your kid is sick, if you've lost a loved one, if you're suffering from an illness yourself, and that provokes and creates anxiety in you, well, guess what? You're activating the fight, flight, or freeze response. You're not trying to do it. It happens automatically. It's a survival tool. We have to have a way to immediately calm that down, because if we don't, in the moment when we're experiencing stress, have a way to relieve stress, worry, and anxiety, if we don't have that, what happens is we send messages to the cells in our body to start to break down. We're literally self-destructing. I hope that makes sense to you. It makes perfect sense to me. I'm a cancer survivor. I've had 2 rounds of cancer, and I'm a trauma expert. So I've been living, breathing, acting, treating, and working with trauma for over 30 years. And I realize I sent a lot of stressful messages to my own body that have shown up in this particular manner. Here's the thing. I'm going to show you the tapping in a minute, but I want you to think about this. If you have anxiety or you have worry right now, we happen to be in an epidemic in our world and our society that is really traumatic. But if prior to this you had life issues, like I said, you're struggling in a relationship, you've lost a job, you've lost income, you lost a parent, you lost a fur baby, and you have this feeling of anxiety and dread, what is it that you say to yourself? Because it's not enough to just identify that you have the anxiety. The thing that really activates that amygdala is the thoughts that you're telling yourself after you experience it. So, for example, if your hours of work have been reduced or you lost your job and you're saying to yourself, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to pay my bills. How am I going to get out of this? How can I find another job right now? It's so impossible. What am I going to do? Well, those thoughts take that energy of anxiousness and it's like putting a flame underneath it and lighting it up. And I know, I'm not judging, I know we do it automatically without thinking. Listen, part of that is what you learned. So there's this historical trauma and there's historical negative self-beliefs that you were taught in your family of origin. If that's how they dealt with worry and stress, guess what? That's how you deal with worry and stress. And the other part of it is just through years of experiencing worry and stress, you develop this negative coping. Tapping is here to identify the physical experience that you're having of anxiety in your body, and then the psychological experience you're having, which is the self-limiting beliefs. So in the therapy world, we use CBT and DBT to reframe this negative self-talk. And in the tapping world, you tap while you're listening to yourself say these hideous things and then start to reframe them. So the points on the body I'm going to show you, because I don't want to leave without you learning that, is when you're in a stressful situation, and let's say for me it's my cancer, the first thing you want to do is the karate chop point. So this is the first point on your body. You literally take your fingers and you tap. One thing I want you to notice while we go through this video is you're going to watch and hear that my voice starts to slow down dramatically the minute I start doing it. And I think it's so funny because automatically my brain is telling me to slow down. Now, I'm not anxious. I'm very excited and I'm very passionate, but it probably sounds like anxiety and a little ADD. So I recently had my hours of work reduced. I'm undergoing cancer treatment. It's causing a lot of negative side effects. So I often will say to myself, oh my God, why is this happening? Why is this happening? This feels terrible. I don't like this. So while I'm saying those thoughts to myself, I start tapping on the first point, which is the karate chop point. The next point is between the eyebrows. It's right here. Ladies, we're going to call it the Botox line, because for a lot of you, you know, that's how you're fixing that problem. So for the rest of you, it's just inside the eyebrows. You don't have to use both hands. It doesn't matter if you start right or left, 4 fingers, 3 fingers, 2 fingers. Do what feels right intuitively to you, intuitively. If you do 2 fingers, it feels great, go for it. If you want to do 1 finger in the inside of the eyebrow, go for it. This is really difficult. I feel stressed having to be stuck at home. I don't like that I'm feeling sick. This isn't what I want for my life. So this is Gina just practicing, right? So I want you to figure out what your stressor is. And while I'm doing this, do it with me right now and follow along the points. Then go back and rewatch the video so you remember the points. After you go in the eyebrow, you're going to come to the side. It's right inside the temple in the little groove. It's not quite the temple, which might be too much, but right next to the inside lines here of your eyes. I understand that I have this stress. I acknowledge it. I see that I have it. It's part of my life. I'm willing to accept it. Now, if you notice, by the third tapping, Gina is already starting to change her reframing statements, because I don't want to keep telling myself that I'm upset. That's naturally occurring. I didn't plan that. If by the third tapping point you're still saying negative things, keep saying them. The beauty of emotional freedom technique is you could be thinking the negative thought and still be activating a positive healing system by just tapping. The next point is right here on the bones, right here under the eyes, okay, and under the eyelids. I acknowledge that I have this stress. I understand it's part of my life. I believe that I have the ability to heal from it. Now, these are thoughts that are automatically coming to me. You might have to write yours down because you might forget. After you've said 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 negative things, you might have to write down something positive. One of the wonderful ones to say, and we'll move on to under the nose, and I hope you washed your hands, those of you who are in COVID, and 10 years from now, whoever watches this goes, what the heck is COVID? It's going to be pretty funny. But for now, wash your hands if you're touching your face. Underneath your nose. Even though I have this problem and this stress going on, I completely and fully love and accept myself. Even though I have this stress and this problem in my life, I completely and fully accept and love, completely love and accept myself. Even though I have this problem in my life, I completely love and accept myself. Now, my voice is getting quieter. It's not intentional. I feel a tingling going through my body. And that tingling is literally the electricity moving from the points of stress that I'm experiencing, which mostly is in the heart. It's why your blood pressure raises and your heart races when you're anxious. And it's now being redirected throughout my body, and I'm literally feeling tingling. I think it's kind of cool, and I'm excited to hear and find out what you experience. Even though I'm experiencing the stress in my life, I completely and fully accept myself. Now, this is the next point. I didn't point it out, but under the nose, and then now in the groove in your chin. Following that, you're going to go right underneath the collarbone. And I love to use all fingers on this one because there's enough space to do it, and it feels great. My fingers are literally tingling right now. So again, if you're still speaking a negative, I can't believe I lost my job, or I can't believe my wife talked to me that way, or my husband betrayed me, what a horrible asshole. Whoops, I said it on tape. You can say it, you can curse. So as you tap now, and you're in that negative space, just keep tapping until it starts slowing down. Doesn't matter how often, how quickly, how hard or how soft, you'll find the space that works for you. Now, I don't want to miss the last 2 points before we sign off here today. The one is the bra line for the ladies, and for guys, it's probably about 2.5, 3 inches below the armpit. This one's kind of funny. I call it monkey see, monkey do. Because it's so weird that you have to raise your hand. I often forget this one because I find it awkward. When you go through the tapping, you're going to find areas that you really enjoy tapping and some you might not like. That's okay, skip them. Start from the top, go to the bottom, go in whatever order you remember. Just don't forget to tap. Start telling yourself from today, if I'm stressed, I'm going to tap. I'm going to tap, I'm going to tap, I'm going to tap. And then every time stress comes and you tell yourself I'm going to tap, it's setting an automatic memory in your brain, because it takes 30 days to create a new habit, to constantly repeat that. Now that you're done tapping here, the last one, which I really like, is on the top of the head. I find this to be a little funny and a little silly and a little awkward. So by the time I get here, I'm usually smiling like I am now because it's kind of fun. I don't remember the stress that I was feeling earlier about the job and the money and the cancer. I really don't. Right now, I'm just thinking this is kind of fun, how great it is that I get to do this, how awesome it is that I get to teach people this method, and how simple, how powerful we are that we can heal ourselves by doing such simple things. We just have to be mindful and be willing to dig deep and do the work. Now, as I mentioned before, those are all the points. So, you know, there's a song that we teach kids: head, shoulders, knees and toes, head, shoulders, knees and toes. It teaches them the body parts. So I'm going to kind of do that to you. Instead of head and shoulders, it's karate chop, temples or eyebrows or Botox, temples, under the eye, under the nose, above the chin, under the collarbone, under the armpit, top of the head. Okay? So rewatch the video and you'll see you start below, you go above, you start working your way down the face to the arm and then back to the head. Okay? The one thing that I did say to you earlier is while you're doing this, let's say while you're tapping, you have a memory and you're saying to yourself, I just hate my life. It's not worth it. If you get into that kind of a depressive, suicidal kind of thing and you feel like you can't move through it, I'm going to ask you to immediately start saying a positive affirmation. I'm also going to tell you those are the instances where you need a care partner. You need a therapist with you to guide you to find out where is that negative belief really stemming from. It could be from some severe traumatic childhood events, and those things need to be worked out with a professional. It won't just go away with tapping. What the tapping will do is alleviate the immediate intensity around what you're feeling, and of course that is really helpful. But if you get stuck in negative mind process and you can't find a way out, then I really encourage you to seek counseling. You can always look up Harmony Heals, which is where I work, and I co-founded that counseling center with my husband, but also anywhere online, 1-800-HELP, and there's all kind of mental health available for therapists and stuff. So I hope that you enjoyed learning today about emotional freedom technique. I hope that you start using it. You're going to be so surprised. I'm super relaxed right now. So you're going to be so surprised how effective it is for you, and I hope that you like it. Watch this video and share it with your friends. See, I'm so relaxed I can't even talk now. So I wish you the best. Again, it's Gina Tabrizi. You can look me up in social media on Facebook as Ask Gina. Thank you.